there's a lot of interesting sounds in the record. I mean, you go through it, and there's a female voice pops up here. Not really sure who it belongs to. Then there's a sitar that drops in someplace else, and then there's a keyboard line in was it Chase Scene? Yeah, Chase Scene. That's a really cool keyboard line that comes through that one. It grabs your attention right away. Again, it's an organizational triumph to be able to keep track of all of the different sounds. Forget the different players, but all the different sounds that you're using.
That, I think we got to give a lot of respect out to John McIntyre.
Absolutely, yeah.
He had a lot of focus. I mean, he would take 10-minute breaks to smoke cigarettes, and then he'd just be in the studio room. He, I feel, spent a good time really trying to record everybody individually differently.
He also, I mean, inspired us 10 years ago as to how to work with different sounds.
Yeah.
Like the first two Tortoise records, and some of his approach to music making, gave us lots of ideas of how we can incorporate lots of different sounds. So in a way, coming back to him, I would say 15 years later, was kind of completing the cycle. It's like, okay, now we can actually use the John McIntyre, to have some of his ideas as well as what he taught us, 15 years ago, just by listening to his records.
It's well put.
One of the things I'm finding fascinating about the whole Broken Social Scene experience is the idea of the collective, and the idea that people from around the world recognize this collective as something very special. I mean, we talked about the spin-offs with Metric and Feist and Stars and everybody else that's been associated with the band. And I remember, was it last year? I opened up the New York Times Sunday magazine, and there was a big story on you guys.
Really?
You didn't see that?
I missed that too.
Come on, the New York Times.
What was it about?
It was about the Broken Social Scene collective.
Okay, no, yeah, you're right. I read that.
And I was sitting there having my coffee on Sunday morning, going, "Wow, this is really cool."
I wish someone would tell us when that, like, you're in New York Times, go get one, because that's so much to ask.
But they're actually being pretty good about it. They had a 5-page story on The National this past weekend.
Oh, well, they love The National.
They do. They're actually streaming the record from the New York Times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I haven't heard the whole thing. Have you heard it yet?
No, I haven't.
No, I'm excited.
I listened to it.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
There's
obviously it's good.
a couple of really good tunes on it.
And then they had Joanna Newsom a couple months ago,
Yeah.
and so they're trying to be.
So they have a 5-page.
5 pages.
5 pages on The National.
On the
What?
website, yeah.
Oh, on the web, but in the paper.
In the magazine.
Really?
In the the New York magazine.
The New York Times magazine.
New York Times. Good for them, man. They're really sweet guys, and the Boxer. That's one of my favorite records. That's going down as one of my favorite records of all time. They deserve it. They're a great band, and the way that they write their music is.
They're a lot like you in the sense that they've had a number of records to develop unmolested and unmanipulated, and they've created a sound that is uniquely their own, just like you guys have. I mean, there's nobody else that sounds like Broken Social Scene.
All right, well, that's good to know.
And that's really cool, because how many bands can say that these days? You've had an opportunity to develop organically over how many years?
10.
Yeah.
10 years.
And this record is different from the last record, from to my ears, because there seems to be, I don't even know what's different. I just know that it sounds more mature.
Somebody said that to me before, and I said, well, that's great, because I really wanted to mature. I'm getting older, and I had a friend who played in a band for kids when he was 40, and I just said, I'm never going to do that. And I mean, Charlie's got 2 kids. We got people in their 40s. We want to just make different records, and
I mean, ultimately, we're playing for ourselves. We're playing music that feels good to us. We're not thinking of an audience and then trying to tailor it towards them in any way. It's like,
I've been saying we have been, just so you know.
Okay, good to know. We'll do different interviews then.
But I mean, as I said, like, we did think about the people who come to our shows with songs and say, well,
Yeah, but not in terms of a marketing.
No,
like in terms
just
of like
in terms
a
of
fans and appreciation.
You feel
but
family with, they're gonna like this one, they're gonna love this. Turn it up for this person, but yeah, we do. I mean, it's what these records are reflections of our current state of life. So we're only getting older. Not to say that, I'm sure our midlife crisis record's gonna sound awesome, be like all the garage bands out there right now. But we're not. It's not that we're not trying, Alan, because that sounds really pompous, but we we love music, and everything else comes with it. That's great, and I've been sucked into it. I got sucked into the me, myself, and I world there for a while, and obviously you have a lot of people that never want to say no around you once things starts rocking. So I got it. I got divorced. I became a victim to the idea of all this shit, but at the same time, if you listen to the records from the beginning, so if you want to start with our 2 Casey Accidental records, and then follow him through Doomex, if you just want to focus on Charlie and I for a second, you hear it is about sound and it's about music, and we like to challenge each other, and we love to make records. And we had to figure out how to do it personality-wise and rock and roll-wise and live-wise, and it was, it's not an easy life going on the road. It's quite difficult, especially if you have addictive qualities, which I do. You're suddenly drinking all the time, and the bus rides,
living in that bubble where you wake up and you're in a different place, and
every time, and you can't complain because so many people want your job, but you say it sounds like you matured. If we did not grasp some sense of maturity, then it wasn't going to work anymore. And I don't want to be one of those people that doesn't enjoy what they're doing, and I fear that every night before I go to bed, because I go to bed with frustrations, or things didn't work this way, or someone misquoted us, or these things got pushed too late. We made this little sweet EP that we just wanted to release when the record came out, and suddenly it's everywhere. Oh my God, the biggest coup ever. I mean, we literally gave everybody like 20 minutes to write a 1 minute and a half song, and we try to explain it, but everything gets misled, and the information goes wrong, and you're constantly lying in your bed trying not to be frustrated at your band members or the people you work with, because it's big and it consumes you and it takes up all your time when these things go down. And I'm very grateful to be talking to somebody like himself. This man's a legend. But when you do talk about it a lot, it becomes exhausting, and then you do kind of start.
Which is in a way why it was such a relief to do this record, because we did the record in Chicago. It was like a holiday. We were away from our lives. We were in the studio. We would get up, ride our bicycles to the studio, and we could really focus on it. We didn't have to worry about explaining it. We didn't have to worry about presenting it. We just had to get together and be creative, and it was such a good experience to have everybody in there and to be in Chicago, away from our lives for a bit.
From all the distractions, from all the usual sights and sounds and people.
I think it was one of the most joyful album-making experiences that we've had.
Maybe that's what I'm hearing when I listen to the record, because it does sound, reasonably joyful.
We were happy.
It sounds very fresh to me.